Welcome back to Backward Point Podcast. My name is Nazar Sayed, and with me, as always, is my brother and co-host who loves to answer questions, who loves to gather questions, but not as much answer them. But today, we are defying the odds and finally getting to these questions that we've asked people multiple times to ask and answer. So we have Patreon here, lovely Patreon questions that we're taking all of. Discord is here as well, the Discord family. Shout out to you guys. And then we got some Instagram questions. We didn't do a Twitter Ask BP. I don't know why. But before anything, Bashar Hulda Sayed, welcome to the podcast again.
Thank you. I think we wanted to do this podcast before the PSL.
Yeah.
So I asked everyone to send their questions in for a pre-PSL Q&A, but we got so tied up in Islamabad that we didn't get a chance to record that episode. So apologies on that, but we're here. We have more questions. This is a post-PSL, pre-New Zealand series, pre-World Cup Q&A episode. And we've gathered questions, like you mentioned, ask for priority. Patreon, if you're a patron, you can get priority on having your questions guaranteed answered.
And we don't skip Patreon questions. Like,
Exactly.
that's just a must. So we also expect Patreon members not to ask us scary questions so we can take it on the pod. But I really respect all of our Patreon members. They're good. They're smart cricketers.
Yeah, I think we should get into it. Just before we get into it, but as I was filtering these questions through, I just want to give a shout out to our whole Backward Point community. You guys asked some really thoughtful, deep questions, and it really made me ponder on a lot of things on cricket, Pakistan cricket with the upcoming World Cup. So, just again, thank you everyone for sending all the questions. Let's get straight into this. Starting off with the Patreon questions. The first question is from Sajjad Malik. Sajjad asks, being given the opportunity to follow the PSL up close and seeing how things go behind the scenes, what was your biggest misconception before you joined Islamabad United?
Oh, starting off deep with the Jod's question. Man, like, I think it was very interesting to see how the actual cricket sausage is made. I wasn't expecting a lot of things, and some of the things that I was expecting, um, I just didn't. I it was tough to firstly not be a fanboy because you're a professional, you're working in an environment with professionals, so you want to make sure that there's Naseem Shah there, there's Shadab Khan there. They come with heavy baggage, and you didn't want to be like one of those guys like, hey, you're the guy who did the catch against Virat Kohli. Like, yeah, everybody knows that. So that was hard to do, but I guess the biggest misconception that I was under was that these cricketers, these quote unquote superstars, would be a lot more inflated with their egos. And I think it was overwhelmingly satisfying to know that these guys are just normal dudes. Like, just hanging out with Naseem, hanging out with Shadab, you realize that the last thing these people want to talk about is cricket. And like they'd make jokes, they'd rather talk about movies and songs and social media memes and stuff like that, than talk about that one spell in the final for Naseem, or the Champions Trophy for Shadab. So that was one thing for me. What about you?
I think for me is so me and you are both club cricketers, and oftentimes I'm sure people can relate. Like when you're watching cricket on TV, you think, man, if I was there, I could do this. We made the joke on the podcast where we say that you're a better bowler than Usman Qadir. I'll take that back. It's just a joke, but I mean, seeing Naseem Shah, Shadab Khan like work hard in the training camp, it made me realize firstly how good these guys are. Like we don't realize how talented Naseem Shah is. We were at the camp and there were a lot of club bowlers there, net bowlers, and you could clearly see the class that Naseem Shah had versus all of the other bowlers. No disrespect to them, but just Naseem Shah was a class apart. Even just seeing how hard these players work. I think when we got to the camp the first day, Shadab was there for about an hour, and we saw him bat for another hour, and it was just six hitting practice. I think we may have seen Shadab hit at least 100 sixes, at least. And if that's like a daily routine for him, that's what he needs to hit on a daily basis to ensure that he hits 5 sixes in a match or 4 sixes in a match. And that's considering he has a 3 to 5% success ratio replicating the practice versus the match. So you don't realize oftentimes how hard these players work, how much pressure is on them. And again, so just seeing how hard they work, and then for what you said, like just knowing that they're just normal human beings we put these players on such pedestals that we just forget sometimes that Naseem is just 21 years old or Shadab is 24 years old and they're just regular human beings.
Yeah, totally. I agree with that. And just a quick sidebar, all the things that he's talking about, we did make videos a lot behind the scenes when we were at the Islamabad Night camp that we are now sharing with our Patreon members. So Sajjad is one of those people that has access to videos that were made between you and I that we posted on the Patreon account. So if that's something you guys are interested in, behind the scenes action, like we promised, it's in the Patreon, uh, tiers. So you can sign up for the tiers and you can get access to those videos as well.
Next question is from Raja Osama Abbas, and he says, how is it not regressive mentality calling Imad and Amr back to the national side? Their inclusion is based off PSL performance, which I thought wasn't going to be the case anymore, but I guess not. Their inclusion means two new or more deserving players who perform in domestic all year round have missed out.
Yeah, we talked about this on the podcast when we did the Imad Wasim Guess Who's Back podcast. I think it's the one right before this. You guys can check it out to see our detailed analysis and detailed opinions on that. I mean, I have to agree with Raja here. He's right. I don't think it's for Imad. Maybe it's a PSL performance, but it's a consistent PSL, like consistent league performance. The CPL, the PSL, the MLC. So for him, I understand it a little bit more. But for Amr, it was just like I don't get it. I mean, right now nothing has happened. He's not announced in any of the groups yet. Yes, I know he's in the camp right now with the Pakistan cricket team, but he's not with the squad. Like there's not a 15-man squad announced for any of the New Zealand series or the Ireland series. He may not even be in the squad, but I would doubt that he's not in it.
Yeah.
I'd be very surprised if he's that.
I think part of his deal has to consist of him not just being in the squad, but being in the playing 11. And Shaheen may have called up Amir because of Haris Rauf's injury. Now he has a serious shoulder dislocation. We don't know what kind of a bowler Haris Rauf could be once he's back. So just considering if Haris Rauf is not fit, then maybe yes, Mohammad Amir could be a choice. But it goes back to what we talked about with someone like Muhammad Ali, who was a regular performer in domestic cricket, be it the Gazlan Trophy, National T20 Cup, or just the ODI Cup that we have, plus the PSL. So someone like Muhammad Ali is missing out on playing for Pakistan because Mohammad Amir wants to come back. And what bothers me about Mohammad Amir is just the timing of everything. I would say the last two ICC tournaments is when we actually needed Mohammad Amir. Looking back at the T20 World Cup in Australia, Shaheen was injured. He rushed his rehab to play for Pakistan. If Mohammad Amir had been fit back then, if he took his retirement back then, it would have been more impactful to see him in the Pakistan team. Or even the last Asia Cup once Naseem got injured, or when the last ODI World Cup when Naseem wasn't available. So that would have been a more fitting way for Amir to be like, you know what, now is the time to don the greens versus him coming back on his own terms where the World Cup is in a few months.
Or I think it would have been just a great opportunity for him to come back when the actual problem that he had, the basis of his resignation was, the management. When they changed, they should have called the retirement back. But I don't think his heart was ever to play for the Greens properly. Right now is a very interesting crux to see what actually happens now, how this plays out. There are talks with the change of captain. I don't know if one of the questions was going to be that. And
There is.
So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. But, our eyes are on the PCB for sure. So then third question is from Hamza Kokar. He asks, based on Imad's performance towards the end of the PSL, especially in Karachi, do you guys think his performance showed us enough for his place in the upcoming World Cup squad? Or do you guys think maybe perhaps performance in Karachi was that good just because he was in his comfort zone since he had played for Karachi for so long? And lastly, how come Imad Bhai wasn't one of the guests during this Islamabad Night podcast? I think we can answer the second question first, which is that Imad just was not available. He was in the ILT20, I believe, in Dubai, and he just stayed there a few extra days and came straight to the camp in Lahore. And we never went to the camp in Lahore. We went straight to Karachi in Canada. So that's why we weren't able to get Imad, Azam Khan, Fahim Ashraf, and Hunain and Rubaid Shah both. We weren't able to do them because they just weren't available.
And the foreign players.
And the foreign players as well, yes. The foreign players also came straight to the Lahore camp, and we were in the Islamabad camp. So we weren't able to do them. So that's where that is. I feel like people think that we didn't do.
We have some beef with Imad.
We have no beef with Imad. We have no beef with Imad. I heard actually behind the scenes that he's a very lovely guy. So, take that with whatever you want. The first question is: do you think the end of the PSL, especially the Karachi leg of the PSL, sort of helped Imad's, redemption, or was that Imad just that guy the whole time, basically?
I think so. Imad's main position on the team has been in competition with Mohammad Nawaz. And we've seen the past few years that Imad has just been more clutch, whether it be in the league circuit, whether it be in the PSL. So just comparing him to Mohammad Nawaz the past few years, I think Imad's performed in much more crunch situations. And I would even say Imad's innings against Multan in Rawalpindi, that is what sort of gave Islamabad the momentum to come back. He scored a six when they needed seven off two, and then scored a four off the last ball. And that's what gave Imad just that energy to keep pushing. Yes, I would say Karachi is favorable conditions for Imad, but you still need to perform under pressure, full crowd in some of the matches, games on TV, it's eliminators. And for Imad to just put up those performances shows the kind of character he has, shows where he is in his career with his experience. So I know I don't think Imad's performances are being blown out of proportion. I think he deserves to be back in the team. Um, it just again, somewhat kind of similar with Mohamed Amr, where this Imad's comeback and retirement doesn't sit too well with me because when he retired, he was centrally contracted, so he was part of Pakistan's plans. I'm not sure like what made him retire. It has to be the whole NOC thing and not being able to play more leagues. So there needs to be better communication between the players and the PCB. I think that's what's lacking between what was lacking between Imad and PCB. I'm glad it's back now. Like he's back in the greens, donning the greens as I am
I
today.
can't with that. That's iconic. I will never stop saying donning the greens. Um, moving on to Kavish's question, he has a very interesting question. He says, "A podcast duo joins Islamabad United and they suddenly become champions. Coincidence? I don't think so. Neither do we. Where's the medal for the BP podcast?
We need it.
I think a medal for us would be a callback for Islamabad season two, Islamabad United podcast.
You know
season
what's so fitting? So the last day that we were in the camp, we had this Islamabad United merch shirt that I was wearing during the Naseem Shah podcast. And we had that shirt signed by everyone in the staff, management, players
Yep.
at Islamabad camp. And little did we know that that shirt was going to be now signed by the championship team of PSL 9. So
two. Love it.
fitting. I couldn't be happier. You'll see it hang here somewhere very soon.
Yeah,
So
I totally.
there's definitely some backward point blessings going on here, man.
Man, honestly, we were in talk with a lot of teams, and little did we know that the team that was going to choose us and the team that we were going to choose was going to be the PSL champions. I think it's just amazing. Like, what a ride. Honestly, when the team won, we actually felt like we won. I took ownership to that win, like in a different kind of way, because all of our friends were there. We were like stuck with these guys for like 5 days straight, rigorous shooting schedules, and yeah, we come out to the other side. We're so lucky to tell these stories of these people, of the management, of the players that yeah, it'll just be the medal would be to come back next year and continue that journey.
Next question is from Yusuf. Yusuf says, given the ultra flat batting friendly pitches in Pakistan, do player performances give us an honest insight into potential international performance?
It's a very good question by Yusuf. Shamsi Saab always has the vibes. You answer this because I feel like you have a more concrete opinion on this.
I think the one problem we do have with the PSL is every time the PSL finishes, we have this recency bias towards like the top three, top four performances. And there's a huge debate whether the PSL standards have dropped in the past few years. There's not as great local players, not as many superstars are coming to the PSL as well in terms of like big platinum category names. So just seeing those performances, I oftentimes do feel like they're magnified and fans only remember the past PSL versus our domestic season versus the last PSL or even just international performances. So I definitely feel like because of the flat pitches, small boundaries, and not that high quality bowling attack this year, a lot of performances have been taken out of proportion. I think the one that I would want to call out here is Usman Khan. I know he scored a couple of centuries, or I think 3 centuries as PSL.
2 centuries and 196.
Yeah. So I think he scored runs, but the game that I watched him very closely was the final. And as soon as Islamabad started bowling short pitch to him and peppered him with the short stuff, he had no response.
He was done.
And just considering if he comes to the Pakistan team, which for him, firstly, it's risky because he has put all of his onus on his career in the UAE as a local player, and he's ready to qualify by next year. That's a whole different debate whether it's a good decision for him. But secondly, if hypothetically he comes to the Pakistan team, I'm sure teams have data, they have footage, and they will start peppering him with the short stuff. And imagine someone like a Bumrah or a Shami balling him short
Nokia.
stuff. Nokia, Stark, he'll be exposed to the max. So that's why there's this problem with the PSL where fans take these performances like one good innings here, two good innings here. They take this stuff
Way too
very too
serious.
seriously.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a good call. Vasant asks, how does Babar Azam's good run in the PSL signify promising signs for Pakistan going into the T20 World Cup? And what specific areas does Babar need to further enhance to bolster Pakistan's chances going into the T20 World Cup?
The one thing I would say is Babar's strike rate this PSL has been great, and especially that in the power play. I've been very critical of Babar's strike rate, and especially in the power play because I don't really see Babar as an opener. I would love to see him play that critical number 3 position that Virat Kohli does, that Williamson does. So I think Babar is just a better fit at number 3. But seeing Babar's strike rate improve and Babar being very conscious of the fact that his strike rate is under scrutiny, good to see that. I want players to keep improving. For Babar to develop those new shots like that scoop he scored against Hunain, that scoop that he was trying to play on the fine leg, but he eventually played it towards third man.
Improvisation.
We need that from Babar.
I think the same thing. I agree with you. The aggression, improvisation, it's all mental. I wouldn't say like, oh, Babar needs to work on his slog hit towards mid wicket or cow corner. That's not his game. So for me to even expect that is ridiculous. But what I do expect is more of that aggression, more of that improvisation mindset. It is modern T20 that you're playing. And even though his cover drive, I would pay thousands of dollars to see in person live, we will need more of that improvisation in the moment type of stuff. So yeah,
I would love to see Hanif Malik work with Babar Azam because we
Yes.
saw him work with players like Haider Ali and someone like who's a classical player like Salman Al Yaga. And Salman scored, I believe, around 12 or 14 sixes in this PSL, which is for a player like Salman Al Yaga, who's more of a classical test match ODI player. For him to be hitting those kind of sixes, like proper cricketing charts, nothing was like slogs. I think if Babar works with Hanif Malik, you can see those same results. And if Babar just improves his six hitting ability, which he has it, like whenever he hits those sixes, they stay hit and there's no better sight. So I would just love to see Babar improve his six hitting ability.
Yeah, same. The aggression, mindset, whatever. I feel like I sound like the angry Indian guy. What's his name? There is
There's
no
no
mindset.
passion.
There's no aggression.
Yeah.
There is no freaking mindset. Yeah, I feel like that guy.
Next question is from Ultra. Ultra says, based on this PSL, who is your definite starter for the World Cup 11 and who do you bring in the squad? Does Pakistan go with Babar and Saim as the opening pair or some other opening pair?
Saim Ayub, the pride and glory of Gulistan Johar Karachi, is a definite starter in this World Cup.
As an opener.
As an opener, 100%. Give him the opening ball as well. All right.
Opening batting, opening bowling,
Slip
fielding,
fielding.
slipping.
And like if that's the vibes that he's bringing to the team, like if it's a turning pitch, which we will see a lot of in West Indies, they do have turning tracks. Why not? Him and Imad opening.
Okay, but
Let's-
seriously, come back on his batting.
Yeah, like for sure. Like he needs to open the batting,
Yeah.
100%. Look, you need to understand what Saim Ayub is. Saim Ayub is an enigma. All right, he is what the modern cricket fans in Pakistan have been praying for. Right, we're just Lailatul Qadr is going to come in Ramadan in a few weeks, and we are one of those people that in those darkest and holiest nights, we're like, Allah forgive us for our sins. Also, give us an opener like AB de Villiers in Pakistan cricket team. And this is exactly what's happened. So to say that he is not in your 11, I'm not even talking about a 50. He's number 1 in your Pakistan cricket
First
team.
name you put on
The first name you put in the opening slot is Saim Ayub. Now, debate for number 2 and 3 can go on till the end of time. I think Babar and Saim should open, and Rizwan could go number 4. But
number 3.
Number 4,
Who's number 3?
Fakhar.
Okay.
So like we can talk about that when we talk about. There's a question down there about the World Cup
Because
11.
Ultra also asks about our definite World Cup starting 11.
Do you want to go to that question now then? Because there was a question near the end as well about the World Cup 11. I don't know if you want to go there.
Okay, yeah, we can come back to it.
Yeah, sure.
So that's all the questions we have
Retention, guys. That's retention.
from from Patreon. We'll go towards the Discord questions. Which
Oh wait,
were
I don't. Sorry, just to come back to Ultra's question, we didn't talk about who's the starters for the bowling in Pakistan.
yeah. So it has to be Shaheen Naseem opening
Yeah.
the bowling attack. It has
Yeah.
to be Shadab as a spinner. It has to be Imad as the other spinner.
If these also
And I think if Haris Rauf is fit, he should be in,
First change?
in the 11 first change. If Haris is not fit, then I see Mohamed Lamar coming in
first change.
first change. Because you can't break the Naseem and Shaheen opening pair, man. You just can't. And I think if you're looking to extend your batting lineup and add a fourth seamer who is a batting, like a bowling all-rounder, then you can consider Wasim Jr. as well.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with that for the most part.
Yeah.
I would also see it. I would love to see Abbas Afridi in that mix somewhere as well. I don't know where, but he's someone who's definitely been proving himself. He's really good at the GT20 here. I think he was one of the highest wicket takers here. So give me some Abbas Afridi any day. All right. So Discord questions. This is from the Discord fam. Again, priority is Patreon guys, near and dear to us, and then we got the Discord fam that is just like all out wild. This is going to be some interesting ones. I'm pretty sure.
Some of the names these guys have.
None of these are real names.
You'll see. You'll see.
All right. So Hiba R, that's a normal name. Asks, what was your best memory while shooting the sloop pods, and what player did you have the most fun talking to?
I think my best memory has to be when we were shooting the pod with Naseem.
Yeah.
And so there was a moment where I just zoned out and I took in the fact that I'm sitting here in Islamabad with my brother, partner in crime, co-host, and one of Pakistan's premier bowlers is sitting in front of me, and he is talking to me, answering questions that I've researched and developed and sort of put towards him. And like it just took me a moment to like take that all in. And sometimes when you're like in the eye of the storm, you don't realize what you're doing until it's done. But just taking that moment of just zoning out, there's somewhere in the podcast, and I was like, man, wow, this is crazy. This is
Yeah.
truly delightful, and I'm just glad how far we've come, starting off from literally nowhere. So yeah, that was a moment that I liked.
I think I was the most stressed while recording the Shadab Khan podcast. For some reason, I was less stressed. I mean, I was quite stressed about and nervous about the Naseem pod as well, but I was more stressed about Shadab for some reason. Like, this is an ICC Champions Trophy winner. Like, this is the guy who was at point when Azhar Ali dropped the catch, and the ball went flying, and he caught it over his head. Like, that's the guy. And like we said this in the podcast as well. We didn't see that final live. Like, we saw it maybe a couple days after, and just to not be able to see that final because of religious obligations, and then be in front of the guy who was the like key person, was just like an insane thing to happen. So I mean, that was probably gonna be the best memory for me. And I was trying to be as present as in the moment as well. Like, I didn't want it to all be a blur, because 5 days, 11 pods can go like that. But for a certain few pods, I was just like dialed in, man.
Yeah, I think I got pretty emotional as well once we asked Shadab that question. Once we came back and we made a clip on that Shadab catch, and I was like, man, this is ridiculous, because we like missing that match, that 2017 Champions Trophy final was like, I was so bummed out. It's like a historic match in cricket history, in Pakistan history, and for us to miss that match, but I think God's compensated that because we went to the next ODI World Cup.
Yeah.
We saw Pakistan win a match at Lords against South Africa. We saw perhaps Babar's greatest century of all time to date against New Zealand. And then we were able to ask these questions to Shadab sitting live. So yeah, it's just memorable. I think the next question, like a sub question from Hiba was, which player did you have the most fun talking to?
I think off camera was Naseem. I think Naseem was just a delight. Genuinely, he was so fun, so chill. Also, he's like, he's younger than us, so he's like still in our like age group, and like he just wanted to banter. He just wanted to make jokes. He just wanted to like have fun. And I think hanging out with Naseem was just the best. And then, but one of the best podcasts I think we did. I know this wasn't one of the questions, but I think it's the Hanif Malik podcast.
Same.
I think that one like took me by surprise, and I was just genuinely curious throughout that podcast. I think Hanif Malik, more people like Hanif Malik need to be in the Pakistan cricketing system to change and revolutionize it. I think he's taking a step to the right direction. And yeah, I'm just glad to tell that story out in the public.
Yeah.
I think more people should watch that podcast.
Yeah, if you haven't, we encourage you to watch the Hanif Malik podcast, because I learned so much about cricket, Pakistan cricket, the issues, the challenges with the players, just from speaking to Hanif Malik. And we spoke to him off camera as well, and we realized a lot of the shortcomings of where our cricketers are lacking, our cricket board is lacking, what sort of insecurities players have, why aren't we seeing players who have talent convert them into consistent international performances. So yeah, just learned a heck of a lot from Hanif Malik. So check the podcast out. Next question is from Ali Taravi. I think he's Ali Nihari, but in Ramzan he's Ali Taravi.
For sure.
So Ali Taravi says, how does it feel to know that you guys just did podcasts with Pakistani stars, and now you know that you have the ability to have a podcast with bigger clubs and teams? Do you think Backward Point should go to other leagues like the 100, etc.?
Oh, very good question. This is a conversation that we have a lot off camera. This one thing that we don't want to do is just be like podcast consultants. Like we just don't want to like start podcasts and all these other leagues and just be one of those people, because we actually truly care about Backward Point a lot. Like this is our baby. Like this is what we invest in. This is what we built together, and we don't like always want to not be doing this. So if there's like a collaboration where we get to interview and be affiliated with leagues like the 100 or MLC or GT20 and still get to do BP, like still get to post pods here, that would be like the ideal situation. Because at the end of the day, even if it's the 100, if it's the IPL or whatever it is, you get to talk to one of the greatest cricketers of all time, right? Or in that moment. And we just to have that opportunity would be insane. So yeah, like maybe you will see us in the 100. The 100 is actually one that we didn't really shortlist in our list of potential leagues that we could reach out to. So that's something that we could do. But yeah, I think you will see us around, but in a more freeing capacity. Like I think what we did at Islamabad United was quite unique.
It's monumental.
Yeah, people don't do that. Like you've seen other podcasts, especially in the cricketing space. The podcasts that we did were I listened to the podcast that I did with all 11 podcasts that we did, and I want to listen to it more. That means that there is something there that's like attracting me. And the other podcasts, especially in the boxing and cricket circle, is just not it. Like that's not what pods are for. And we study the format so much. We listen to so many podcasts. I think in the past 3 or 4 years, ever since I actually started paying for Spotify, my music consumption has gotten lower and my podcast consumption has gotten higher. So just being around that format, I feel like we have certain conversations with certain players that other people just can't. And we just want to take that skill and just take it everywhere. We want to have those conversations with Joss Butler and maybe Stuart Broad and Jimmy Anderson, right? That's
dream guest.
And Virat Kohli, like Rohit Sharma, like these are the people that we want to like pick their brains out, like in terms of cricket and in life. Like I learned so much from the Shadab podcast, just about like self-deprecation and how seriously you must take yourself and how much hard work actually goes into being a great cricketer. So for us, it's a growing curve. For us, it's like everything we wanted, because we're at our core, we're fanboys. So taking Backward Point around the block, yeah, I would love it.
Hafsa says, sub question, collab with RCBUN.
Oh man, I think they have a really good podcast themselves. So I don't know if they wanted to work with BP, but yo, anything to do with Virat, anything to get Virat on the pod, like that's just it. Like I will do anything.
Virat squared. Let's make it happen, guys.
Let's do it. You and Virat Kohli in the same frame. Imagine that.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying I'm Virat Kohli, but I'm just saying that nobody has seen me and Virat Kohli in the same room.
Yeah, hopefully they will in June when we go to see the World Cup. Hopefully, guys. If you guys have any like leads on the Pakistan India game in New York City, if you have any leads on the tickets, please DM us. Let us know.
People for some reason think that we have some sort of hookup with tickets.
Zero hookups, guys.
We're looking for hookups.
We're looking for hookups. So like, if you are a hookup who's watching this pod, get us tickets.
Email us, DM us. We're open. Next question is from the BK, and the BK says, what did you notice about Shadab while you were there, which contributed to his comeback this season?
I think it was just where his head was. I think he was dedicated. I think he worked harder than anybody else. He was at the practice an hour before and he was leaving like 20-30 minutes later. He didn't stay for food. He was just out. His mindset was just like, this is it. I need to make a comeback, because the Shadab Khan that we know and love is a fighter. Like he will be down in the dumps with you to try to get this game out and win it from whatever position it is. And I think for the most part, he himself knew that he was on a downward curve. And the only way to get out of that, man, is fitness and working hard. And he knew that.
Also, two more things I would say that Shadab really he communicated to us, but he's been doing it all throughout the PSL. If you hear his post-match press conferences, the first thing is Shadab has a lot of self-belief. Shadab knows he is the best T20 player in Pakistan, and he has the awards, the accolades, the stats to prove that. And the second thing is that Shadab really believes now in trusting the process. So Shadab knows that he's still not bowling at his best, but Shadab also knows that he's been working very hard on his bowling, doing some technical changes. There was actually, I can share the story. There was a moment where, as a fanboy, I was recording Shadab bowl in the practice match, and in between overs, Shadab calls me and he says, "Can you go behind the side screen, record my bowling action? I want to see where my front foot is landing. I want to see where my run up is coming through." And so, firstly, I was freaking the hell out. I was like, "Holy crap!" Shadab Khan is asking me to go behind the side screen, record his bowling, which I already was. So yeah, so I was just recording his bowling, and Shadab was working very hard on fixing his run up, fixing his landing foot. And I think in the next few months, once he gets some more time off, he can work on those technical stuff, which will just further help enhance his bowling. And that's when we'll see Shadab being his best. So Shadab's self belief, Shadab trusting the process,
Work ethic.
and not focusing on the results. Just the work ethic, the dedication he had. That's what makes him one of the best players in Pakistan.
And again, I don't want to keep like mentioning this person's name, but Hanif Malik, man, he's the one who's like really instilling the mental fortitude that one needs to be a professional cricketer. And Shadab Khan is a great product of that mentality as well. The next question is from Aisi Zameen or Asman. You're right. The names are hilarious here. What is the future of the PSL? Lesser crowds, no foreign quality, broadcasting issues, and overall miles below the IPL. Leagues such as the SA20, ILT20 have taken over now.
I want to
Actually, agree with the IPL comment. I think I'm watching the IPL right now, and there's no comparison.
Well, here's what it is. It's the IPL. There's a load of crap, and then there's all the other leagues in the world. That's just how far ahead the IPL is. So there's no comparison. They keep investing in their infrastructure and their broadcast quality. So
You want to know a stat I heard about the IPL today? I think the game that just happened yesterday, the Sunrisers game, or maybe the
was it the
Gujarat-
high scoring one?
No. Oh, it was the one after that. Anyways, it was played in a new stadium, and that was the 36th stadium hosting an IPL game. Can anyone name 30 stadiums in Pakistan that are international standard? That's just that stark difference itself is like, in itself is what's holding us back. And like people are very quick to be like, well, the PCB doesn't have money. That's
The PCB does have money.
PCB has a lot of money.
The PSL makes a lot of money.
PSL makes a shit ton of money, right? And it's a big chunk of the revenue that the PCB has. And the PV, and by the way, the PCB is a profitable organization in Pakistan.
They get money. Like they get millions of dollars from the ICC.
They get millions of
Every
dollars from the ICC. They make millions of dollars from the PSL rights. And then there's this, bilateral series.
There's home series or broadcast rights there.
So much is going on,
Merch.
right? So to come back and be like, oh, we can't invest in our grounds, we can't invest in our staff, we can't invest in our management. It just looks bad, guys. Like anybody from the PCB is listening to this, it's just like nobody's buying this anymore. And it's very, very important that the money that is being made from the PSL, the money that is being made from all these other ventures, come back and like attach itself to Pakistan cricket. Like that's what we need. The reason why the crowds aren't showing up, especially in Karachi, is because if you live in Karachi and you've ever tried to see an international game or a test match or an PSL game, it's hell. Fix that. Right? Work with the local management, get that in order. Now, once you do actually get into the ground, the view is horrible. Fix that. This ground was built in the 1970s and it hasn't had a structural
revamp.
Yeah, like a cosmetic change in that long. We need new stands. That's just a fact, right? You need to like the modern stands are so like they're literally over the ground.
There's tiers.
There's tiers. There's no tier system in the Karachi stadium. I'm speaking for Karachi right now because that's the only place that I've seen games. I know Pindi has a tier system.
I've been to Lahore. It's pretty much similar to Karachi.
Exactly. So even in the pavilion, like the tickets that you get for the hospitality, you're a mile away from the pitch. So like, why would anybody go? Like, you can watch that same game in higher quality on A Sports, right? So why not do that? So the PCB has to think long and hard. Like people can keep blaming the Karachi audience for as long as they want, or Karachi doesn't show up. But until and unless they understand the reasons why and actually try to mitigate those reasons, Karachi will not show up. It's a stubborn city, man. Look what it's gone through in the past 30 years. You think it gives a shit about PSL? That's all I'm saying.
I'll add one more thing. I think this PSL was probably the most mismanaged PSL, because up until I would say the first week of Jan, we didn't even know what the PSL dates are. And on top of that, the Pakistani elections sort of took the hype of the PSL that builds over time. I think the PSL anthem came like 4 or 5 days before the actual PSL started. So if players don't know when the PSL is happening, what the dates are, they can't commit to putting their name in the draft. And that's why a lot of players who did put the name in the draft got picked, they didn't show up. Right. So they need better planning, and to see that this is Pakistan's biggest brand and it's sort of like being managed DIY. We were shocked to see that. And I don't think this should be happening to literally Pakistan's biggest brand that you export to the world.
I also think I'd be very surprised if the PSL doesn't move from February. I don't know about you. I know the PSL started late this year, about like a couple of weeks. It usually starts end of Jan, but end of Jan is even a worse time to be having the PSL. Again, we keep coming back to this article that I think Daniel Rasool wrote on for the Cricket Info, which was that, you know, the PSL used to be the second biggest league in the world. Now it's the third biggest league in February. Great title. Read that article, you'll understand what we're talking about. The PSL has got to move. You know, logistically, players won't be available, so it'll be less exciting. Ramzan is now getting pushed back every year. It's 10 to 15 days back into the calendar because of the lunar system. That's going to be tough. So you're going to see a lot of people check out, and you don't want people to check out. So there definitely has to be a conversation had on where the PSL moves. Does it move into the summer? Does it move into early fall, late fall?
I think October, November might be a good time frame.
Sure. Like, yeah, like get that done, but it has to be.
And also, just with respect to like attracting better players, Ali Tareen, the owner of Multan, said that it would help if you can if franchises are allowed to do a couple of direct signings, which would be more money than you can buy someone in the platinum round. So you can pay them, instead of like 200K USD, maybe 300 or 400K USD. So you can get at least a couple of good, you know, premium players
again
in the PSL.
Don't want to compare the PSL to the IPL because it genuinely is unfair to any other league to be compared to the IPL. But the international talent pool that the IPL has is insane. Like, it's actually fun to watch these players go at it, and yeah, that's the sort of talent pool you need.
Even the coaching staff, I was seeing Sachin in the Mumbai Indians camp. I was seeing Justin Langer with one of the teams. Ricky Ponting is involved. So it's just, they have some really good foreign talent.
They get the Aussies, man.
Yeah.
It's tough to get the Aussies in anywhere. Like, Michael Clark came for like a week in Pakistan. Everybody's losing their minds.
I think one of the Aussies that we had on the PSL who was picked again in the platinum category, you might even not know who he is. You know who Daniel Sams is?
Cricket.
Yeah. So Daniel Sams was picked by Karachi Kings.
But what was in the coaching staff?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, what do you mean? Yeah, sure. The Justin Langer and Ricky Ponting and Shane Watson. Like, these are legends of Australian cricket. So you got to give them some. But yeah, Viv Richards. He's a legend. Darren Sammy, we made a legend for sure. Peshawar loves him. So it's not all that bad, but you know, whatever. Okay,
Next question from Malik Saab and Ateeb Saab, if you want to go for that one.
Yeah, for sure. Long question. How high or low on a scale of 1 to 10 will you rate the PSL 9? I would rate it somewhere around the 7, 8 mark.
7.5.
Yeah, 7.5. Were there any positives? Lots of positives. I mean, some of the nail biter games came down to the last over. Like, it was great. I had a lot of fun. All the eliminators were fun. Should the PCB add 2 more teams next year, or do you think, or do they keep it at the same because PSL might clash with other leagues next year, as per a few sources? And given that the best of players don't come for the PSL, this might badly affect the tournament. So the PCB will have to come up with a better plan to attract bigger stars. We just kind of skimmed over this. But should we add more teams? Definitely. But then we're going to be running into a situation where, like the IPL, where it's like 2 months. The IPL is like 7 weeks long.
Yeah.
It's insane. That's a very long tournament. But yeah, I don't know about 2 teams, but definitely add another team. Like,
so
Punjab needs another team.
Shafi asked that if you were to add 2 more teams in the PSO, which city teams would you add?
Hyderabad.
Sialkot,
yeah.
I think just from a legacy point of view, Sialkot Stallions was an OG team in the Pakistan.
Yeah, Sialkot Stallions, just bring that name back. That'd be amazing.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I would say Stallions and Hyderabad.
Rawalpindi maybe, or Faisalabad would be a good team. Or do you think that there should be one more team from Sindh?
Yeah, so I said, give me another team from Punjab. So that would be Sialkot, hands down. And then, yeah, give me Hyderabad. Hyderabad Bakeries.
Hyderabad.
Yeah, bro.
Hyderabad Heroes.
Know that.
ICL team. You guys know it.
That's a deep cut. But the Hyderabad is known for its coffee bakery, right?
Really. Bombay Bakers was in.
Yeah, where is that?
In Hyderabad.
There we go. Hyderabad Bakeries. You guys know where I'm at. Bring it on. Hyderabad Bakeries.
No.
Yo, it's gonna fly. Once it comes and people are like, yo, who are you supporting? I'm supporting the bakeries, bro.
Okay. Next question from
This guy just deaded my comment.
From Zuhaib and Mookie is back. And AB's Abdullah Amir from Instagram. I've sort of batched these questions. Yeah, some of the questions were repetitive, so I've batched them with certain people's names. So this question says, after watching the whole PSL season, which two players do you think will make the best opening pair for our national team? Saima Yu, I think, is confirmed, but who should be the other player? Also, what's your opinion on Rizwan? Should we move Rizwan to number 3? Do you agree? Personally, I don't think he fits in the T20 team.
Woo!
Does Mohammad Rizwan fit in the T20 team for Pakistan? Firstly, there's questions about him being the captain, and there's also conversations about him not being in the T20 team alone. So those are like two different sides of the coin. For me personally, you have to give Mohammad Hafiz and Shaheen Afridi the flowers for breaking the Rizwan Babar opening pair. I think, respectfully, putting their statistical accolades aside, it was just a defensive opening pair because they just put pressure on all of the other players in the middle order. And you can see that by just the amount of players we've tried at number 5 and 6, starting from Asif Ali, Khushdil Shah, Haider Ali, Azam Khan, Danish Aziz, Hussain Talat, and the list goes on. So there's something going on where if you're changing your middle order so much and your opening pair stays the same, there needs to be some sort of self-reflection. Pakistan has the lowest strike rate by a number 1 or number 2 batsman in the power play since 2021. And I think Pakistan needs to improve that. It's good to see Saima Yu back at number 1, so he sort of adds that impetus. But again, I'm not a fan of having 2 anchors in your top 3, which is why I think having Fakhar Zaman at number 4 would help, because the whole reason why you broke up the Rizwan Babar partnership is because they're too slow in the power play. So if Saim and Rizwan are opening, and if Saim gets out in the first over and Babar goes in the power play, you're back at where you started from. So the strategy should be, if Saim gets out in the power play, you send Fakhar, and if Rizwan gets out, you send Babar. But I think definitely with the amount of wicket keepers that Pakistan has, there has to be a conversation on where Mohammad Rizwan's future is, because we have Azam Khan in the middle order, we have Mohammad Haris, a young, explosive batsman, and now this conversation is on Usman Khan as well. So, yeah, these are very tough conversations, and I'm gonna just throw it back to you.
I don't think he fits well in the T20 team, is what Zuhaib said. That's not what I'm saying. I'm reluctantly agreeing with him. I think this T20 World Cup, Rizwan is vital. You need him. But like you said, there is definitely a conversation need to be had after this T20 World Cup about Rizwan's role in the team. Like, he cannot keep opening the team. Like, it's not something that can sustain itself. You have to understand the reason why Babar and Rizwan started opening in the first place. Our opening order was extremely volatile. We didn't, like, Fakhar Zaman aside, we just didn't have that explosiveness in the top. So what Babar and Co and Mickey and Co thought in late 2020 was, why don't we go with our best, which was Rizwan and Babar at the time. And there are moments
it was Misbah, actually.
Sure. We went with that order just to sort of safeguard ourselves for the rest. We sort of were playing the reverse of 90s cricket, which was like, how about we hold the wickets till the power play ends, have 45, 50 on the board, and then after the power play, we'll have 14 overs left. We'll get the hitters in the middle order there to come near the end and bring a 170 to a 200 or a 140 to 170. And genuinely, we won games like that. Genuine games.
But that's not a reliable way of winning games.
Exactly. So and then cut to 2-3 years later when we got someone like Saim Ayub and Mohammad Haris and we were just like, oh, okay, so now we don't need that sort of insurance money in the top 2, top 3. Now we're in a position where like it's hard to let go of those people because it's tough. Until and unless there is a complete reinvention of Mohammad Rizwan's game, it's tough to see him play T20s for Pakistan for what 2026. That'll be a tough. If Rizwan is playing T20s for Pakistan in 2026 and opening, that's tough for Pakistan.
But who's gonna sit Rizwan down and have the conversation? Because Rizwan, anytime he's unhappy with the team, he comes to the media and he starts talking against the captain, the management. There's like two instances that I can think of. This is back, I think, last year, where there were questions about who's going to be number 4 for Pakistan. And
Yeah.
at the time, Rizwan was number 5. He comes on the media. He says, "I'm not happy with batting at number 5. I want to bat number 4. That's my preference." And the next series, lo and behold, Rizwan is batting at number 4. Just this past series in New Zealand, Rizwan in Babar's opening pair was broken apart, and Rizwan comes to the media. He says that we lost. One of the reasons why we lost is because we broke
Something that was
working. And he said that the management is experimenting. So I don't like when players come on the media and talk against the team. It doesn't sit right with me. I think there should be like more transparent conversations happening within the team setup itself. So yeah, I think it's tough. Rizwan did hit a lot of sixes this PSL, but his strike rate was still 122. So there is some improvement with his intent, but Justin needs to translate that over to the Pakistan team. So either you change his role, ask him to be more aggressive, or eventually, I think we have Hasibullah, Mohammad Haris, Azam Khan, Usman Khan now, even for that matter, Sahib Allah Farhan on the bench, waiting to replace Rizwan.
So I think our collective take is that 2024 World Cup, we will need Rizwan, but 26 World Cup, Rizwan should not be the keeper for Pakistan.
Unless he changes like the way he plays, because again, just having two anchors in the top three does not sit right with me.
Because the thing I like about Babar Azam is that he is getting that aggression into his batting, like the 144, 145 strike rate in this PSL. It was really good to see, and that's what I want from Rizwan as well. That reinvention, and then maybe he could still stick in the top 4. So yeah, my openers are Simon, Babar, and then 1 down Rizwan and 2 down Fakhr. And if Fakhr's not playing, Shadab, why not bring it up the order?
Yeah, I think there definitely needs to be a conversation on how we can use Shadab Khan up in the order at number 4, number 5, because his PSL stats do prove that he belongs there. Also, he's a great player against spin. So, considering the next World Cup is going to be in USA and Caribbean, we will see lots of spinners in action. And I would love to see this Pakistan team getting more out of Shadab Khan, maybe even using him as a batting all rounder and then having an extra spinner, maybe like an Abrar Ahmed or an Osama Mir playing alongside Shatab as coverage. The next question is from Billboard Ramzan edition.
For sure. I like that.
And he asks, does Azam Khan belong in the national team?
Short answer is yes for the T20 World Cup. But
I think we need to expand on this topic. The first part is that Pakistan has tried many middle order batsmen at number 5 and 6. None come close in terms of stats as to Azam Khan. Like if you look at his CPL stats, if you look at his PSL stats, if you look at his even national T20 stats, you won't see Azam in the top 5 run scores, but just the position he bats at, he has impactful match-winning knocks. So I think it's debatable whether Azam is probably our best number 5, number 6 batsman, arguably the best power hitter against spin bowling. And considering Azam's CPL stats, he's well versed with the conditions here in the USA. Also, playing CPL all of the past few years. So with that aspect, I think Azam Khan could be in the team, but Azam Khan comes in the team at a cost, and that cost is firstly Rizwan letting go of the gloves. No, Rizwan is arguably the best keeper in Pakistan. Azam, even though has gotten the award for the best wicketkeeper of the PSL, I think yes, he kept very well, but the reason why he got that award, one of the reasons is because Rizwan wasn't keeping, and typically whenever Rizwan is keeping, he gets that award. Rizwan stepped down as a keeper to give Usman Khan an opportunity to keep. So that's just how Rizwan is as a person. So again, yeah, it comes back to Azam keeping at a cost of Rizwan letting go of the gloves, and also on Azam's fitness. We talk about this a lot. Imagine this: last ball, 2 runs. It's a final game against India. It's Jasprit Bumrah bowling. He bowls it Yorker to Azam Khan. Azam tucks it away to find like it's a good Yorker. So Azam just flicks it away for towards deep mid wicket. It's Ravindra Jadeja fielding. Can Azam Khan run a double to save or win the World Cup for Pakistan?
Cricket.
And
That's
the,
a tough call.
the other part is
It's definitely a tie. Wait. In that scenario, it's definitely a tie.
we go to a super over.
Go to super over.
But the other aspect is that anything Azam does negatively will just be magnified and highlighted because firstly of his fitness, and secondly, also we forget he's Moin Khan's son. So let's say if Azam misses a stumping versus Rizwan misses a stumping, Azam will get 10, if not 50 times the hate that Rizwan gets. So I'm not sure how Azam will deal with that.
One thing I know about Azam Khan is that when it comes to stuff like this, he's very tuned in. So he may see the hate, but he never responds to it. Like I think the first few times that we've seen him actually engage with the haters was on Backward Point when he came out and talked about people calling him Perchi and the fat shaming and all that. I think that was really bold of him to speak on that. But when it comes to giving the hater satisfaction, I don't think you'll ever see it from Azam Khan, which I love. Your point on the fitness is very important. I think there's news coming out of the Kakul Academy that's not really pleasant for Azam, and that just your scenario presentation of that last ball situation. It's 2 runs left. My opinion is if that's the situation, Azam will probably whip that for 4 because that's the kind of player he is. He doesn't need to run those 2s. Now I'm not giving him a cop out to say that his fitness standards don't need to improve. 100% they do. I'd rather him run those 2 than hit it for 4 and then play a risky shot. But that's just the style of game that he plays for cricket. He loves attacking. He sweeps a bowler that bowls 145 for God's sake. Like that's the type of player he is. To say that he should not be in the 11, especially in this World Cup where it's in favorable conditions for him, he just won a CPL. That was just like 6 months ago. So
since August, Azam's won a CPL. He's won a National T20 Cup and he's won the PSL. And his performances in all 3 tournaments have been impactful.
So I don't understand why that we're not asking him to play 5-day cricket. It's T20 cricket. It's 4 hours. He's going to be batting for a maximum of 40 minutes. Let the man bat.
Well, so Azam's title in the team is going to be wicketkeeper, batsman, wicketkeeper first. So I hope he can improve his wicket keeping. But
that's something that he can work on. That's like he was some of the catches he caught were really great in this, but there were moments where he was a bit sluggish. I think that's just reflex training. He can work on that, improve that. I don't think this cricket team has had Umar Akmal as a keeper in a World Cup. So don't tell me that Azam Khan as behind the stumps will be a disaster because that's not the case.
Yeah. I just think so. If Azam Khan is being given the chance, give him a full series. Right?
Yeah.
He's played 7 matches in 3 years.
There's 12 T20Is coming, right? He should be playing in all of them.
If they decide to go with Azam for the World Cup.
And
otherwise, there's no point in giving him 1 match here, 2 matches there, because then Azam is also, again, he's insecure. Like here's the problem, right? How can Mohammad Hafiz give Azam Khan the security of being in the team where Mohammad Hafiz himself doesn't know if he's going to be there or not? And this is the root problem of Pakistan cricket.
There we go. I think that sums it up. So, long story short, does Azam Khan belong in the national team? 100%. He should be in the 15. There are lots of asterisks, but Azam himself knows what he needs to work on, and I think he's capable of doing it. Like he just needs to focus a little bit stronger. He could be a very integral part of the T20 team that goes into not Islamabad, the Caribbean.
The next question, and this is going to be the most quick question. Question is from It's Me Muiz 066. The question is, should Babar Azam get the captaincy back as Shaheen was unsuccessful in the tournament?
No, he should not get the captaincy back, and that's not the reason why. Just don't do it, Babar. Babar. 1-on-1. Don't do it, bro. Don't do it.
I think out of self-respect, Babar Azam should not take the captaincy back. Just the way the cricket board has treated him the past few months, I'm surprised he's still playing for Pakistan. But they leaked his chats. They put pressure on him during the World Cup. And a lot of that has to go back to how terrible of a chairman Zaka Ashraf was. And this is another one of the issues with the PCB, where so Zaka Ashraf comes in, he screws shit over to the max, and now he's gone. So how do you hold the chairman responsible when he's in and out in a few months? And now the PCB is trying to rectify. Oh no, we treated Babar Azam wrong. Oh, Shaheen was too young of a captain. So this is not good. But what's happened has happened. Babar should not take the captaincy back. He should focus on just being a player and contributing to the best of his ability, and also trying to score as many runs as possible, because Babar Azam is a generational talent. He will go down as Pakistan's best batsman of all time. So he should focus on just bringing more accolades, more numbers for Pakistan.
I know 3 realities. Number 1, don't text her back. Number 2, never have oily food for sahur. Number 3, Babar should not take his captaincy back. Moving
Well
on.
said.
Moving on.
Next question is from Balach Baluch, and he says, would you guys do this collaboration again? And if so, would you consider doing it with another team?
Would we do it? Yes. Would we consider it another team? No.
Maybe.
Okay. Diplomatic, maybe.
Up in the air.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think the fit with Islamabad is too good for us to do it.
Yeah, I think our priority would be to come back to Islamabad, just because we just love the environment, the people there. It felt like we were, a part of a larger family. And but let's see. I mean, life is unpredictable. You can, if an opportunity comes, you would love to explore it. But Islamabad would be priority.
All right. I see the little battery flickering, so let's just run through these. Playing 11 for T20 World Cup.
Yeah, I think I have a
Just give me the
version
11.
here. Saim, Rizwan, Babar, Fakhr, Shadab, Iftikhar, Imad, Shaheen, Naseem, Haris Rauf, or if Haris is not fit, you can have Mohammad Amir, or you can have Abrar or Usama Mir as your spinner. Or if you want to add a fourth seamer and then go with like a bit more deep batting, you can go with Saim, Rizwan, Babar, Fakhr. You can go with Shadab, Iftikhar, Imad, Wasim Jr. or Amir Jamal, Shaheen, Naseem, and then Usama Mir or Abrar. There's also a version where you can fit Azam Khan in there, and that I have is Saim, Rizwan, Babar, Shadab, Azam, Iftikhar, Imad, Haris Rauf, Shaheen, Naseem, and Usama Mir / Abrar.
I actually agree with Mazhar Rashid's 11, and I'm just going to quote him straight from Twitter. Babar, Saim, Fakhr, Rizwan, Azam, Iftikhar, Shadab, Imad, Shaheen, Naseem, Haris.
The problem
This is the best 11 Pakistan has right now.
Yeah, but
100%.
the problem with that one is I think Shadab is batting too low. I think Rizwan shouldn't be playing one
So
down.
this is a caveat that Mazhar Rashid has, right? He says, let's say if Babar gets out in the first couple of overs, Rizwan can be your number 3. But if Saim gets out early or the openers have batted through 6 to 10, then you must have an aggressor as number 3, which could be Fakhr, Azam, or even Shadab. I love that. I love it. It has to be fluid. It cannot be static like the way it's been. You have to make sure that that movement is lateral. All right. So Hafsa Kashif asked, which PSL team do you guys support personally apart from being IU's partners?
So I was supporting Islamabad since last year. We're from Karachi, so technically we should be supporting Karachi Kings, but just don't like the franchise so much.
We've been very vocal about Karachi King. Then that's was never in contention. My number 1 team was Islamabad this year, and number 2 was Peshawar because of power. Simple. Also, Amir Jamal, I like him a lot. I know he got whooped a lot this PSL, but I like his swagger.
Question is from Real Raj 8. He says, the best emerging find of the season. I would say I personally liked Irfan Niazi.
Yeah, speaking of Karachi Kings, like that's a shining light, and I hope that they don't diminish that light, but just keep it up. Irfan Niazi was great. Also, I think his numbers at the Kakul Academy fitness running test were really good. So good on you, Irfan.
Also, because Pakistan is lacking a middle order, lower middle order batsman, to see him come up as a good number 6 batsman. Plus, he's a gun fielder, so that was good to see.
Lovely to see. And then we'll end on this because I think this is the best one. We still see the red light blinking, and I need to get this question across. Natasha Basti asks, or doesn't even ask, just says, we want Babar Azam on your podcast.
So do we.
Simple as that. So do we.
PCB, Zalmi, Talha Rahmani, I don't know. Make it happen, guys. We're here.
You guys know where we're at. DM us.
One podcast with Backward Point, Babar Azam collaboration it'll be one of the generation, guys.
Give us 70 minutes with Babar Azam, and I think we will produce history. The camera's off, by the way, so it's gonna be you. You're gonna have to wrap it up. But yes, 70 minutes with Babar Azam, history is created.
People have said that we have also acted as therapists for the Islamabad United players, specifically Haider Ali. So we would love to do the same thing for Babar Azam. And on that note, we're gonna end this Q&A episode. There's gonna be more coming in, maybe before the World Cup. So thank you guys for sending in questions. If you're on Patreon, Discord, Instagram, just loved all the questions coming in. And I hope we answered them to the best of our abilities. Thank you for watching Backward Point. This is your co-host Bashar signing out, and with me, my brother, whose camera is off, but he's also signing off with me.
I'm here in spirit. Thank you guys for all the love. See you guys in the next episode.
Cheers.